So you prepped 2 months of planning, field work. I still think Jerry sat on the couch the whole time, but that's okay.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
All right, this is kind of super informal. Jerry, Troy, thanks for having me back.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us.
What have you been up to since I last talked to you?
A lot. More easier question to answer is what haven't we been up to?
Okay, what have you been up to that you're willing to share publicly?
So we want to talk about our trip to Rainier.
That's right. That was our highlight of our
another
summer.
trip to Rainier. So last year we recreated the trip of William Tolmie, Dr.
Yep.
William Tolmie. And this year we recreated the trip of Lieutenant August Kautz, who went from Fort Steilacoom he got within 300 feet of the summit of Rainier in 1857, nearly the first ascent.
So, all right, when was the first recorded ascent of Rainier?
1872.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
We're going to learn about that as we go along.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was the second real good run at it, and maybe the first real good run at it, because I don't think Tolmie was really...
He wasn't going for the summit.
He was wholeheartedly going for the summit. Now,
Yeah.
Kautz was actually headed for the summit. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, how long did this trip take to plan?
It took not as much as the Tolmie trip, but I bet I don't know, what do you think, Jerry? I think I had a good solid 2 months into it. 2 months of research.
Okay.
I do a lot of field stuff where I read about an area, go out to the area and hike it, and just kind of confirm its accuracy and, landmarks. So I do a lot of stuff out in the field also to prepare for
So
this.
Jerry just sits on the couch?
No, Jerry's busy working.
Listen, Jerry's not the route finder that Troy is, so I let Troy do that, and honestly, Troy's the best at it, so if he needs some assistance, I'd probably get in his way. One thing that was better about it, though, is a little bit better documented, so, and you'll find even when we talk about the first ascent later, it's even better documented. They describe things better. There was more accounts of it afterwards. There was better descriptions of the routes and what they used gear-wise. Some of it's still a little bit lost, like the first, descriptions, but it was easier to follow. Do you believe that?
Absolutely, yeah. The Kautz journals were really well written.
So this started from Fort Steilacoom.
Fort Steilacoom, correct.
And what was his role at Fort Steilacoom when
He was the quartermaster. So still to this day, I think there's 5 buildings still standing that he had a hand in the construction of. And they were built in 1857, same year he went to Rainier. So.
Okay. So he must have accumulated a lot of paid time off to get on union type. Sorry, don't.
I think Marty even pointed out some trees that had to have been planted back in the day. That were, what kind of trees those? They were way out of our region, but they were planted around Fort Steilacoom, and they looked about 150 years old.
I can't remember what type of tree that was.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration for you guys to do this hike? Where did this come from?
Well, we were thinking, even while we're on the Tolmie trip, what's next? What do we want to do next? And that's just an obvious choice. Him getting so close to the summit and such an epic story of his journey. So it was kind of obvious choice.
All right. So you prepped 2 months of planning, field work. I still think Jerry sat on the couch the whole time, but that's okay. You guys did this in July again?
Yeah, we started July 8th for the bike ride.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of horses, you used e-bikes.
Electric bikes. That's
Okay.
right. So he rode from Fort Steilacoom to a place called Charles Wren's homestead, which is where Fort Lewis is now. Spent the night, and then he went from there to a place called Michelle Prairie in Eatonville. So we ended up doing all of that in one day on those e-bikes, about 40 miles.
Which we did ride back through Fort Lewis, where we have been, but we did. And we actually hit Ren's place on the way. So within a few miles, horse ride either way, the way the trails went, we followed that trail.
Yeah, we were very close on his path, the landmarks that he had in his journals. Yeah.
So you rode 40 miles on the bikes in a day.
Yes. Now, I want to point out we went with Marty Frost and Gary Borden. We had two friends with us.
That's right.
Marty Frost, very accomplished local, and he knew all the back roads through there and knew how to help us join everything up.
His family had property back there, and he's one of the best woodsmen I know as far as trees and maybe what you call arborists. So he pointed out things that were, to me, I just passed by, but he can see where and when they were planted and what kind of things.
So did these two guys go the whole trip with you, or just the
bike ride?
Just the bike ride. Okay.
Correct.
So you guys did 40 miles in a day, which was 2 days worth of work for the first guy.
That's right.
So you didn't stay at Raymond Hayden's house. We didn't have the sprinklers go off. You have to listen to the other episode to figure that out. But
Yeah,
we rode right by Raymond's house.
Yeah, I went 39 miles and 2/10. My battery ran out, and so fair enough. I missed 8/10 of that, but I think I hiked it back into it on the second leg.
So we all talked about bringing 2 batteries for our bikes, and we showed up to do it. Everyone's got 2 batteries, except for Jerry.
Except for Knucklehead. But I thought we would stop for a beer for a couple hours and charge it up, which we almost did. So I ran out of battery. I told them to go on. We sat maybe for 5 minutes, and a lady was coming out to get her mail, and Marty kind of said something, but we got involved talking to her, and she said, "Yes, sure, yeah. Look, come charge the battery right here." I was dead. Actually, I had another
We're in the
15
middle
to go.
of nowhere, and this lady all by herself walks up to a group of 4 scraggly-looking guys and offers to let us use her plug-in in her barn.
Well, it turns out she raises llamas.
okay.
And so we got talked into a llama tour while the bike battery is charging. You might as well do something for 2 hours, right? I think I've never seen a llama take to somebody like this llama took to Troy. Actually, there's pictures of it on the internet.
We got a llama tour while we're waiting for his battery to
That's
charge.
cool.
They either like you or they don't, but this guy liked Troy.
Okay.
So, it's something you should even think about. Her name's Marla Albert. She owns Top Stall Farms, I think it's called.
Okay.
And a wonderful place. So it's a hands-on llama farm, and you get to interact with them, take them for a walk around the property. She's got a huge piece of property.
So my next door neighbor has like 7 alpacas. So they're like, I'm so used to seeing them. There's no exoticness to them to me now, because I look at my dining room and there's like alpacas staring at me. Like,
Right.
So, yeah.
But now I have a different appreciation. I was with you, but it was just a little help along the way.
That's very cool.
Like helping a homeless person.
Right.
Somebody
Well,
helped us right
I
there.
see you guys on the other trip. You had kind of the same sort of.
We did.
So
Yeah, just one
It's
time.
interesting the interaction you have with people, and when somebody asks you, what are you doing? And just watch the look on their face when we tell them. It's pretty funny.
I could go so many different directions. So
You could.
so let's go that first night camping again.
No. So we did that in one little leg.
Mm-hmm.
We loaded up and came back home, and we didn't start back at Michelle Prairie for, what was it, another
2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like a week and a half
Right.
after.
Why?
Just it was time constraints, schedule.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So you did that.
Mm-hmm.
You came back. You drove out to the drop spot, if you would, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, almost true to form here, we come back to that sense of the term, but they took horses up to that point,
Right.
and 2 guys stayed behind with their horses.
Okay. There you go.
As
You guys did.
was the journal, is that correct?
That is right. 2 guys.
And so,
yeah.
almost to that point, we all 4 rode bikes, and 2 guys stayed and just did that leg of the journey and waited, and then
Okay.
went on from there.
So then you guys go out to the second leg.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's talk. Well, let me ask this question, which we'll get to at the end, but I want to know ahead of time. How long did this trip take?
6 days total. 6 days for the second leg.
6 days.
So it'd be 7 days with the first leg.
And how long did it take the original guy to do it?
9 days.
So those e-bikes really aren't much of a savings. Kidding.
No,
not really.
Not over a horse in those days. They're actually about equal to what a horse would probably take you.
Yeah.
But really, we did it considerably faster because we had established trails and roads to walk on, and he was slogging it out.
So he was really hustling then.
He was averaging 10 miles a day along the Nisqually River. Just, boulder hopping.
It makes you appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's go back to just talk about him and where his journey went from. We were in the Pack Forest, is that?
Yeah, so you start at the Michelle Prairie, which is it's kind of a newer, it's called the Nisqually Nature Preserve or something like that there in
Nisqually State Park?
Yeah, something like that. Nisqually State Park.
Yeah.
And so back at that time, obviously, no trails. That's where any type of civilization or trail ended for him, and it was all bushwhacking from there on. And so we had the luxury of some trails as far as the Michelle River. We had to pick our own path.
Yes, we did.
To get down and cross the Michelle. And
thank you for that route finding, by the way. Scratched up, and we have gear, we have everything. I can't imagine them making it through that again. Log hopping. We had fence boundaries to follow where land was cleared. We walked that day from Nisqually State Park into Elby, and we had only just made that our destination, as he did, and we overshot it to Ashford.
He also camped on top of the mountain in the Pack Forest. So in our 1 day of walking, we passed 3 of his camps in 1 day.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Same route. Probably a little more to the straight and narrow because we had to follow roads. We can't trespass.
So did he have Indians with him?
He did. He had one. Oh, this is a great story. Was it Sluiskin he had with him? Or no, it was Wapowity.
Yeah.
He had a guide called Wapowity.
Okay.
He was a Nisqually Indian.
And he had a doctor.
He had the doctor with him.
Right. And describe the doctor.
Well, the doctor had, he was a big guy, well over 6 feet tall, 200 plus pounds. He had a little bit of mountaineering background or knowledge that I know of, but he wasn't in the best shape. So when they get to the Pack Forest to start climbing the hill, he hired this Native American gentleman who was pretty short and small to carry his pack for him. Paid him $10 to carry his pack.
So he carried his pack, and then he carried the doctor's pack on the front of him. And he was actually supposed to supply the meat. I mean, he was he had the rifle.
Right.
So back in the day,
Put that doctor to shame.
So what happened with that doctor, by the way? How did his party start? After he started riding the horse, he got off and he carried a little bit of liquor with him.
Well, yeah, they started up, and he, instead of taking water, he took whiskey instead.
Yeah. How'd that work?
It didn't work out very good for him.
Really?
Did you guys emulate that?
Well, we brought water as well as whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but life lesson, he couldn't carry his own pack, and the whiskey was no good for him. So I imagine the first 2 days he learned a lot of lessons in how to get along, right?
But right around there where I can just picture the doctor walking without his pack, you get to the crest of the hill, and Kautz describes it really well, the view from up there. You can see Puget Sound laid out before you. He talks about this ridge top with a saddle in it. And we're walking right along this narrow ridge top, no wider than this room. And you know that party walked right through there. So it feels good to be right on target, Wow. Yeah.
So first day walking, we made it into Ashford.
Stopped at the LB Tavern.
Stopped the LB Tavern. That's true. second day of walking up Skate Creek Road and then the backside into Longmire, and that's pretty much where he ended up. We were a couple days ahead of him, like you said.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right. That's where it gets a little sketchy on where he had stayed from that point on. From that point, we head straight up to Nisqually, just like he did. There's a bridge up there called Glacier Bridge, and that's where we had to pull out, go get our
Get permits.
Right.
Yeah. We had to get permits to climb.
So when you were recreating Tolme's hike, it was really hot.
Right.
How was the weather this? Because it's still you told me it's in July as well. So you're doing this in July. How was the weather this time around?
It was great. There was nothing wrong at all with it.
Okay.
Again, we did about 30 miles on the road, and I think that was the most miserable part of it for me. Again, the urban hiking tore my feet up. It wore me out. Troy was continuously about 3/4 of a mile ahead of me on the road, so I'm sure we look like quite the pair. There's the winner, and there's the.
Well, if you should have found somebody paying $10 to carry your pack.
Right.
I had an offer for a ride a couple times.
Up to that guy, please.
Or
Yeah,
just
that's so-
past him.
That's so funny. I never got an offer for a ride.
You're not cute like him. Listen, I doubt if Kautz ever got offered a ride, but
Right.
So it was rough walking up to Nisqually. We headed straight up to Nisqually from Longmire, and we were lucky enough to get the Wonderland Trail for a little bit, and then we got in and out at the Glacier Bridge.
So we had a resupply at the Glacier Bridge. My friend Sean Van Domlin. What we did, we met him. He had our gear, all of our mountain climbing gear, so we were able to switch over to climbing gear. He gave us a lift up to Paradise to get our permits,
Okay.
and then he joined us for a hike into to the toe of the Nisqually Glacier.
Yes, and so here's where you get Kautz's descriptions of where he stayed high, the last trees were, and the snow was. And then just recently, I've been living in Longmire, and I live with a lot of volunteers in the park. And an older gentleman was talking, 1963, graduating University of Washington. He said it was within 100 yards of the bridge is where the glacier started, the toe of the Nisqually. And so Troy and I, from the Glacier Bridge, hiked maybe 2 miles up. And that's how much the terrain's changed in the last
That's
170 years since then. So, yes.
So the toe of the Nisqually Glacier was first recorded in the late 1850s. And at that time, it was 2 miles downhill from the current Glacier Bridge location. And now it's 2 miles up. So that glacier's retreated 4 miles since Kautz was there.
Yeah.
30 years.
Right.
Help me out. Help me out.
Yeah,
Help me out with math, folks.
Since 1857 is 170 years, I believe.
Show me up. Okay. Fine.
I'm just guessing.
You're right.
Plus or minus 1 or
No, but you're right.
5.
So the glacier's changed.
Yep.
Now he took all his gear at once, where you guys have had the luxury of
Sure.
being able to swap out.
Right.
I'm not trying to dismiss and diminish what you're doing, but you did. This guy schlepped it all with,
From the,
and
that's
I bet
right.
his gear wasn't anywhere near as lightweight as the gear you guys are using.
Again, no.
Right.
That's true. That's
Right.
And
So, which makes what he did, remarkably impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that makes that $10 look really like a good investment. Right? I'm just gonna say that $10 is starting
probably
to
buy a
sound.
house,
Yeah. I mean, you're set. Okay.
or at least a gallon of gas, but I don't know.
We won't talk about gas because I gas
Nah,
up
listen
today.
to-
I got to gas up on my way back.
Ooh.
Better go to 5.
Yeah. So weather was better this year than it was for the Tolme.
Oh,
Much,
extremely, yeah.
much
Okay, so we
better.
didn't have major heat problems.
Didn't have that.
Okay.
No rain.
Okay.
But this was a different hike too. So really, we downplayed a little bit as far as getting up to the Glacier Bridge. But I think that's where the adventure began.
Okay.
And since Troy and I had hiked from Puget Sound up to Mount Rainier the year before, that doesn't seem as daunting. So just riding the 40 from Stillicum and hiking from Pack Forest is not an easy deal, but it didn't seem like as big of a deal as it was last year.
Okay.
No, you learn a lot by doing it, and I felt like we did it in better style this time.
We did.
Yeah.
And I drive that quite a bit. It takes a long time to drive. And now I know every inch of that road. You become intimate with it a little bit.
So, last time, in our last adventure, you were caught on camera.
That's right.
Did anybody catch you on camera this time?
No, not that I'm aware of anyway.
No evidence out there this time. That was so funny the way you described it last time.
No sprinklers in the
No
middle of the
sprinklers.
night. But there was some comedy that's about to happen. So,
Okay.
As you said, we had the liberty of pre-hiking up from Glacier Bridge and throwing our heavy-duty ice equipment up there that we didn't have to pack.
Yeah, we had gone up a couple of weeks before and cached some of our gear at the toe of the Nisqually Glacier.
Okay.
Yeah, and up to this point, we had a camp up there. It's a beautiful hike and a rough hike to get up. Just through that part of the Nisqually is really rough. It's all boulder jumping, but the rewards you get are waterfalls falling down each side of you.
Yeah.
Bear dens, just beautiful, where no one hardly goes kind of beauty.
Right.
If you understand that.
We never did see another person out there.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or footprints.
Right.
Except our own.
Right.
Okay.
First night, Troy got me to sleep cowboy camp that night we had a tent, and he says, hey, how about we just sleep out here and let the rats run across us? Who cares? And we did. And that next morning we hopped up and we just had our gear ready to go. It was real quick and easy. That's kind of staying true to form, I think, where Kautz was actually.
See, that's where I would be willing to compromise for more modern things. Like, is there a 5-star hotel I can stay at tonight? I don't want the rats running over me.
Yeah, that's where the rum helps to get you.
You just don't care.
The stars, and yeah, you don't care. You don't care. First time for me.
I don't know that there's enough. All right,
so next morning we get up and probably we're going to do this in a couple days where we're sitting around where Kautz probably was to do it in one day. So I'll give Kautz a lot of credit for
He did. He attempted it from basically where we spent that first night. He was going for it in one day, and we were going to do two
Right.
days.
to the summit.
Yeah.
Right.
Because really, I'm sure you've been to Paradise before.
Yeah.
And you look at the mountain from Paradise, it's like, that doesn't look very far away. It's just right there. And it's there's a thing called foreshortening. It looks gentler and lower from right down below it than it really is. So,
Okay. So he did not have the benefits. You guys had to look at his journal and his writings that he did. So you guys, I'm teasing when I say you cheated, but
Oh, yeah.
but you know what you're getting into. This guy had
No idea.
no clue.
This is why you appreciate pioneers.
Right.
Yeah,
He had
so
no
that's-
clue because if you're describing it, it looks
Right.
shorter and not as far. And he's like, oh yeah, I can make that.
Right.
Okay.
That's what a big deal that he did.
So he tries to do this in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they weren't the most well-fed on their trip, and they didn't really shoot as many deer and that kind of thing as they thought. So they were kind of a little low on provisions. So they made a good run for it. I'll
They
give
ate
them
mainly
credit.
bacon and hardtack. Sounds lovely.
I'll give them credit. They made a good run for it. We, on the other hand, we had a third-party meet up with us at the toe of the glacier, and then he was going to hike up. He's a good technical climber.
Okay.
And when we get up to the upper part, we're going to need good technical skills and each other.
Now, have you ever climbed Rainier before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you summited Rainier?
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't your first attempt
Yeah,
to...
but-
okay, and I know, Troy, you've summited it.
13 times.
But not like this. Not
Okay,
like he's going right here, this crazy way.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you call crazy. And what's the percentage of people
calculated.
you think out of 100%, what do you think ascended through the Kautz Glacier every
Oh,
year?
the Kautz is way less used.
10%? 20?
I'd say less than 10%.
So that's what kind of small route this is.
Okay.
So anyways, our friend Nick Strait, we had planned it out. I decided long ago, due to safety reasons and trying to please my lovely wife, that I'd no longer climb the mountain on a 2-man team.
Okay.
If one person goes into a crevasse, it's much harder to hold that with one person than it is if there were 3-4 other people tied on.
That makes sense.
So we enlisted Nick, and he was going to meet us, and he brought his girlfriend along with. So they drove to Paradise the morning we woke up at the toe of the Nisqually. They left Paradise. They crossed the Nisqually as we ascended it, and we met on the Nisqually Glacier at 7 a.m., I think it was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get to the point where we meet. Jerry and I are sitting up in this little gully on a ledge, and he's slightly down below. And his girlfriend's knee was hurting, so she was going to turn around. So they were shuffling some gear. And Nick had this $800 down duvet.
Yeah.
And slips, he sets it down, and it takes rolling off down. And the crevasses at this point, because remember, spring was very late. The mountain still thought it was winter up there at this point.
Right.
So the crevasses were just little tiny cracks. And this thing takes off rolling.
300 feet deep, tiny cracks, but
Nick chases it, and it goes into the only hole that goes into the abyss. So he never got to use his $800 down duvet. It went right in the hole.
so I thought it was just one, and I said, well, you just take her sleeping bag. And he's like, no, that was a double.
It was a double.
So here he is going to take this journey without a sleeping bag. I'd say 20s that night, maybe. Teens to 20s. We're
Teens to
looking at.
20s, yeah. Yeah.
So we go up to the toe of the glacier, and we meet Nick, and he looked like a fifth grader looking down that crack at his bag that was gone. And I'm thinking maybe it's an omen. Did you think that at all?
No,
right.
I wasn't too worried.
I tried not to. And so the three of us start heading up. But, getting up to the toe of the glacier from that morning, we transferred from the rocks up to the snow.
Onto the ice.
And we tied up. And there were crevasses, and they might have been only 2 or 3 feet wide, but they were hundreds of feet deep.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And they might have looked 2 feet wide, but they open up shortly down from there. So yeah,
so
big.
One thing, you can go in this thing, and you got to look out for that. But also, we were maybe about 300 feet short of the snow. We hadn't put our crampons up yet. Remember this?
Yeah.
And Troy was ahead of me by maybe 50, 100 feet, just a little over the rise. And he's like, Jerry, here come some rocks. Honestly, didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing until over this rise looked like a 42-inch screen TV, just a rolling, going left, going right, every elbow hitting. Probably passed me up 25, 30 feet away. And you just keep step forward, and you go, okay, well, let's just hope not a lot of that happens on the rest of the way. And it was happening the whole time we were up there. That's all we heard was that same kind of noise.
Well, you expect that down there at the toe of the Nisqually Glacier. We mentioned all the boulder hopping, and it's a very tight valley with these steep cliffs, and it's pretty obvious where all those boulders came from, and it happens all the time. So it's not really the safest place in the world, but not
just
a place
one
to
of the
stay for a
dangers
couple of weeks.
Not just walking. I mean, that's happening on each side of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this isn't for me, guys. Just putting that out there. But good for you.
So we continued up Nisqually Glacier. We all did pretty good. We took turns back and forth. Got me, you, and Nick into a kind of good rhythm.
Kicking steps. So the person who goes first puts in the most effort, because you're kicking your toes in, and you create almost stairs
For the guys
in
behind you.
and then the guys behind it. So you just
So how
step in those.
often did you switch? Like Jerry, you're the first guy right now. How long before Troy would take over?
Just if you had about an hour slope, the best thing is just to get everybody 20 minutes on it. Usually one guy will do a little more than another. It depends on who's the strongest out of them.
So here's how I remember it. It's actually becomes a little bit of a competition type of a thing. Right?
A little bit, some of that comes into play.
So I think I went first, kicked steps as long as I could, and I got really tired, and asked for somebody to step up next. Nick stepped up. And then he stopped after a while and go, well, Jerry, it's your turn. He goes, oh, is that how this is? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning.
And then Jerry gets in front, and he never relinquished it. He stayed in front the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were in shape. We already came up the Nisqually. Nick has been selling furniture at the Old Cannery Warehouse. And he didn't get on his treadmill as much as he should have, actually. So the other part of the story is, instead of going to Camp Hazard that night, which we were prepared to do as part of our plan, that's only halfway from where Kautz was to get to the top. Nick was a little bit out of shape, and I think he don't care if I say that, right? And so he called it early. He wasn't going to make it. So we split the hike in two, and we stayed at Upper Castle, which is on the way.
That's right. About 11,500 feet.
Right. Which it was okay. It was clear weather. It was great. So why not take another day if it's going to take them a little longer?
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. So the toe of the Nisqually is about what's the elevation there?
9,005 or 10,000 feet.
No, the toe is considerably lower. What's that? Gosh, that's a really good question.
Just think of it about this.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's probably Paradise height.
So Nick.
Paradise 5,400.
I can't pick on a guy that's not here to defend himself.
I'm sorry, but I will pick on him.
Okay.
But he came
was
through like
obviously distraught because he lost his $800 duvet.
He never used it once.
And I'm sorry, a duvet to go hiking doesn't.
His girlfriend peeled off. And then he had to use our coats for his, over his legs. He stuck his leg in there.
Okay.
And he just had a tarp to sleep under where Troy and I had a nice tent to snuggle in.
Well, I wouldn't put it quite that way, but.
Well.
Anyway.
So he ran out of steam for the day. Let's just call it that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys took a break, and you took an extra day off. But
right.
The weather conditions were good.
Right.
So no more falling boulders at this point. Are we in a play? Because I'm sorry, sleeping. You already talked about rats running over you. Now I'm going to play Donkey Kong and watch boulders come down at me. Who sleeps? So
from here on out, I think that's a never-ending noise, and I learn a lot every time I go up. So, and I would get into some territory to the right or left, and Troy could see ahead and say, hey, man, you can see it from, and now I could recognize that it was no even path to be in. So there were some paths where regular rockfall happens and icefall.
Well, we're going up a feature. It's called the turtle snowfield. It looks like a turtle from a distance. And the right side of the turtle, and you could see the marks in the snow. Ice falls off the upper mountain. It's called the Kautz Ice Cliff. Mm-hmm. And I've seen freight train size blocks of ice roll down there.
Yeah.
But they go down the right side of the turtle. So you stay to the left side of the turtle, you're fine and dandy. Just stay out of the right side.
But they look like big snowballs to me as I'm hiking up. Look kind of pretty and cute. But pretty dangerous to be walking in the path. Okay.
Snowballs the size of freight cars. Yeah.
I understand. I just almost got hit by a TV down below. So now I'm kind of starting to get the gist of it.
Yeah, there's some inherent risk to this, but it's all about managing those risks and make it as safe as possible.
Right. No, just the idea so far, I'm not sleeping on this trip. If I was along with you, first off, I'm too old and fat to do this, but if I were in shape, the idea of sleeping, not for me. I think it's really cool. It's just not for me.
When you get up there and you're on the ledge, and I think we all three experienced this at Upper Castle, we all had we didn't really need to even talk, or like I said, again, we're just kind of piecing out, looking at the sunrise, the horizon.
Well, the moon was out almost full that night, and I remember waking up and you could see everything. It was almost like daylight.
Crystal
and
clear
I just
sky.
looked. I would look for 2 hours straight in the middle of the night, just checking it out.
It just takes your breath away.
Yes.
So the next day we had a pretty easy climb, like 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet. Because we would have done that the day before.
Right.
And so we had a nice camp. We're up with some guides, 3 or 4 different guide services.
Yeah, there's a guided group up there slightly ahead of us.
Okay.
And we made it to Camp Hazard, which is the highest camp you can find.
13,800 feet.
On the mountain.
Yeah.
And all we have left is a drip of Kautz Glacier, and we're to the top the next day. That's it.
Okay.
But it's steep. I mean, what's the grade? There's 2 different grades on it.
Yeah, the lower one's about 45, then the upper one's 50 to 55 degrees.
Okay. And that's why we're going to, so our plan's to go to midnight. We come up plenty early and we ate really well. We had plenty of food, our gear's in order, everything's to the T, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had some plans in place for going up and coming down. We got to watch the show of the people.
So the guided groups ahead of us, they were coming down as we're sitting in our high camp at Camp Hazard. So we could watch them come down these 2 steep ice pitches.
That was our TV for the night.
And it took them hours to do this too. It was really slow. So there was a guide for every 2 clients, and there were 3 sets of those.
Okay.
And so the guide would build an anchor, chop the seat in the snow, sit down in the snow, and lower his 2 clients at the same time. Lower them a full rope length. They would stand there while he would climb down to them, lower them again. Well, we watched this guide lowering 2 clients, and they pulled him out of a seat, and they all go tumbling. And we're like,
It's probably 3,000 feet from their slide.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it took him a couple of tries, but he stopped them. And we couldn't hear him, but we could see it plain as day. So he finally gets everyone stopped. He goes down to them, and they all sat in a circle hugging for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like they had to change their underwear afterwards.
So it's a pretty steep, dangerous pitch.
So you're watching that, going, "Wow, let's go up." What could go wrong?
The payday.
Wow. All right.
But they had a good hug session after that. And I noticed a few of the people that came down off of that climb, when they got across back up to camp, their legs gave out. They fell down in the snow.
Well, I'd been up that route. I've been up and down that route 3 times previously. So I know it fairly well, and it's how challenging it is.
That's how I felt comfortable.
It's not too bad.
Was between him and Nick, they had me, and then
Right. Okay. So you were. I'm saying this somewhat tongue in cheek, but you were the weak link at this point.
Of course.
You were the
not physically, but skill-wise.
skill-wise.
Yes.
Okay, skill-wise.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
we all
so-
had our weakness.
Right. Right. No. So you were the technical climbing weak link at this
Yes,
point.
for sure.
Okay. So, and you just watched this
Right.
drama unfold.
Yes, I did. Thoughts?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I know what my thought is right now.
I think-
like, mine's like, no way. Once again, I'm going to say this isn't for me. This isn't for me, right? But that, I don't.
I had a lot of thoughts. The one thought that I needed to get was what our program was. I needed to get nailed down in my head. And so we talked about this for a while. That's where the strength of the 3 of us came in.
Right.
And they both had different approaches. And we talked about the approaches that the guides took. And we talked about the times and different things like that. We also talked to some of the guides on their way down until we got a comfortable feel. And then it's just, I can follow orders and I can physically do what we have to do. Keeping your mind straight is the one thing that has to be constant.
Okay.
And so that night I went to bed, yes, this is going to happen. I know what to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And I felt comfortable with the whole plan. And I felt comfortable with both these guys on each side of me. So,
Okay.
yeah. Scary though, still. I'm not going to lie.
No. Okay.
I couldn't be scared at that point though,
So, you go to sleep. supposedly. You lay down.
Yeah.
What time did you guys start this ascent?
We were going to start
Was it midnight?
midnight.
Okay, so this is one thing that's wrong with mountain climbing. The hours suck, you guys. I mean, really.
Well-
Midnight. I understand.
Again, it's stacking the odds in your favor.
I know.
Yeah.
I get it logically, but I'm being
Yeah.
a little bit like everybody I talk to this climb. A lot. I talk to a fair number of people that climb Rainier, and they all say, "Oh, we started at 2 or 11 or midnight." I'm like,
So if you think about it, the mistake that those guys made coming down was, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they were coming down in the slushiest of snow right in front of us, and they almost lost their lives. And so a 12 o'clock ascent means that we're coming down there around noon, 1 o'clock before it breaks all slush.
right.
And that's the safest thing you can do. It's the hardest thing to do is to get up. But I always consider your grandpa's picking you up for fishing at 4 a.m. You're getting up at 4 a.m. You're not going to be late to grandpa's truck. This is the kind of wake up call you need. You don't have to do it all.
You guys, you need to rest. You need to be mentally sharp. You need to be physically rested to do this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
But it's midnight. Troy, you probably go to bed at midnight normally. So how do you flip the script and go and make yourselves go to sleep?
When you've been working that hard for that many days in a row, it's quite easy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's quite easy.
So what time would you guys shut down then to go to sleep?
Well, so we were up there for darn near all day. Because like you said, we only had 1,500, 2,000 feet to climb that day.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, we napped through the day. We were up and down. And yeah, so I remember us really churning in right as it's starting to get dark. So maybe 9 o'clock.
So you're really not sleeping very much. 3 hours.
Not very
You've
much.
napped during the day.
Right.
Yeah.
We're well rested.
So now Nick at this point, our buddy who lost his down duvet, he slept in I have a big puffy jacket. He slept in that the first night, froze his ass off, excuse my language. And so
Not really, but anyway, go ahead.
so he wanted to use my jacket and then sleep in the tent with Jerry this next night. And I agreed to that. So I slept in my
Well, of
sleeping
course
bag.
you agreed. It was Jerry's tent, not yours.
No,
No,
it's
it was
his tent,
my
actually.
tent this time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fuck him.
But so I sleep out in my sleeping bag on the ground, and right about as we're starting to go to bed, the winds pick up, and
10 o'clock, maybe.
and
8,
then
9
they
o'clock.
pick up some more and some more. And I was worried about losing things, so I stuffed anything loose. I stuffed in my backpack and put a big rock on my backpack, but I come to find out I had it good. That Jerry sent me a video the next day of them inside the tent, and that thing is just getting blown all over. Jerry sits up in the tent, and it's like getting boxed by a boxer.
It was 40-mile-an-hour winds, plus, I'm sure,
Yeah.
from 10 o'clock on. So I took a video with still the light outside the tent, and it would amaze you how much this tent is throwing. And like you said, I'm the least technical guy. I asked Nick, what's the wind cutoff for the go, no go? And he said around 40 miles an hour, which we were at.
Yeah.
So midnight comes, and we all pop out of the tent, and we all stand up, and we're trying to belt up and cramp on up, and you couldn't even stand. It would blow one way and stop, and then blow the other way and blow you back that way, and then stop, and then blow you that way. Am I recalling this correctly?
Well, it's like walking around on steep ice and loose rock, and about every 5 seconds, someone comes up and gives you a shove from a different direction.
And then it would go
And you
still.
don't know which way it's coming from.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of stumbling around. And
Are you sure you weren't drinking? Just
no, we
checking.
weren't. Not at this point.
Not at this point.
So let's get
That
back.
comes later.
Let's go back to Kautz. So Kautz, he takes off from camp, lower camp.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then he loses a guy down low.
Turn back.
Right? And then he's got Wapowity, and he's got the doctor that follow him probably up to about Camp Hazard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Camp Hazard, what happens there, Troy, after that?
Well, didn't it? That's when it started getting windy. And
Right.
Started. He was really late in the day at this point. It was starting to get dark on him a little bit.
Did the doctor turn around?
Yes.
And Wapowity follows him a little longer.
Yeah.
But he even gives up.
He gives up. Yep.
And so he goes on by himself. Right?
Oh.
His water bottle freezes. It's getting windy. Blew his hat off. It's starting to get dark.
Yeah. For him to go any farther meant suicide. He was going to die up at the top that night.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Wow.
So midnight, we get up to put our crampons on. It is blowing like crazy. I don't know. I'm late, but I was out there about 3 or 4 minutes, maybe. We're out there 5. And I just said, hey, I'll make my own decision, but I'm 100% going back in this tent. I'm out.
Right.
I'm out.
So it's actually, the whole thing was a little bit comical because nobody says anything, right? Obviously, no one's really excited about what's going on and what the conditions are. But we're suiting up and we're getting ready like we're going to play the basketball game anyway, right? And
Hoping the other guy blinks.
we're waiting,
I
waiting
guess.
for somebody to say something. Finally, Jerry's like, hey, I don't know about you guys, but I ain't doing this.
Fucking hell. I mean, pardon my French again, but there's a rock step ledge to get over to that glacier, and it's narrow and it's dark, and usually you're using a rope. And now we're going to do rock step with crampons on in the dark, scoot along maybe a couple 100 feet, 3, and then we're going to be on the snow, right?
Right.
That right there don't sound good.
Well, if it's windy, that windy at 13.8 up at the summit's going to be even more windy.
Right.
So,
Wow.
so Jerry finally, first person to say something. I remember not even saying a word. I just took my pack off, my crampons off, and climbed back in my sleeping bag.
You just threw your crap, and Nick agreed right along. I'm glad. And it took a couple of weeks. I saw Troy again down at the cabin, and we hadn't talked about it. I was like, did I pull out too soon? What? And Troy said, absolutely not. That was the right thing. So
Oh, it was the right call.
I thought about it for a couple of weeks. So maybe we should have went for it that night.
Yeah.
So Troy, I put you on the spot. Would you, if Jerry wouldn't have said anything, would you have tried?
Yeah. Well, what I would have done is I would have gone a little ways,
Okay.
right? I would have gone a little ways.
But
Yeah.
looking back, or you
I was ready to not do it at any moment.
right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because you worked so hard to get to this point.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was sure in my mind we were going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't set out to not do it or to
Right.
turn around there.
Right.
I packed everything I needed to. We made a long trip. We did a lot of work to get there. So for sure, that was the last thing I wanted. I could have waited another day myself and then done it, but
Done
who
it,
knows?
right?
I
Right.
think the wind followed us down till 10 or 11 in the afternoon. It was even hard to walk downhill
Now,
on
Jerry, if I'm
safer
not
slopes.
mistaken, you made a call from about 13,000 feet on the mountain and got another day off of work.
I did because Nick slowed us down.
Right.
And I made that extra day just to
You
spend the
still
night.
looking for the duvet.
No, he just wanted to stay a night in the tent with me. I don't blame him.
You can't blame him for that.
He started eating, and I started eating.
So, yeah, Jerry calls down from 13,000. Hey, I'm going to have to extend my days off by 1.
I have a job right at Paradise, though. I work at for maintenance, and I'm a maintenance man at Paradise Inn, so I could see where I worked.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so good today.
No, they knew what I was doing, and they knew where I
Bob,
was
why are
at.
you in the parking lot?
Matter of fact, I thought I hadn't missed a day of work this year. That's the one day I missed.
You
That's
did,
it.
right.
Yeah, I hadn't missed an hour besides that.
So
Right.
you guys, well, you didn't summit, which isn't necessarily a measure of success because neither did the other guy.
Right.
But you put in all this effort, the mountain turned you back.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. The question I want to ask, I'm going to hold off on, but I'll get to it. During this trip, what went wrong that you weren't prepared for? What are there any surprises besides running out of battery power? Things like that. What did you not plan for that came up?
Good question.
Honestly, first thing came to mind is we ran out of cigarettes, and so we tried to ration 4 cigarettes for 2 days between 3 guys. Other than that,
Oh my God.
no wonder the doctor turned around. But I think we just didn't. I would have given myself another day or two because really unforeseeable wind. And if you looked at the evening, it was beautiful. There was still not a cloud in the sky, just the moon and the stars. But the wind was just outrageous.
Okay.
And had I known the wind was coming, I wouldn't have a magic ball in my pocket, but I probably would have pushed harder to get up that night.
Not taking the extra day.
Yeah.
Is my only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more smokes.
Yeah.
Well, had we not taken the extra day, we would have been just fine on smokes.
Yeah. It's the extra day.
All right.
No, but other than that, I think everything worked perfect. I think you need a little bit of luck every time you do this too.
Sure.
So luck from Mother Nature and luck from a few steps that you might take right or wrong, but luck wasn't in our favor. And you know, reflection on Kautz, it wasn't in his favor either.
Right.
Well, I might have climbed Rainier 13 times, but I've attempted it way more times.
So how many
than
times
that.
have you attempted it?
I don't know. I always say more than 50 and less than 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate what Kautz did actually for him to take that gear up. What kind of gear did he have?
So they did actually have old school ice axes.
Okay.
They took a 50-foot length of rope,
All right.
and they brought boots where they took the soles off, pounded 8-penny nails through the sole, and reattached the sole
Okay.
for crampons. A lantern and a pistol, and that's
For dove or quail or what, the pistol.
The doctor.
well. One of the soldiers had a rifle too, so had a rifle, pistol,
Right.
and a bunch of bacon and hardtack. That's really
So just to
Tent.
appreciate what he did
Oh no, this is
to get this far, what tells the tale of what they did is how they came down the hill and emasculated is what they were. The Indian was snowblind, couldn't even walk, couldn't see where he was walking down the hill, much less carry the doctor's pack back.
yeah. One of the guys could not return to duty for several months after the trip because he was in such bad shape.
wow.
So the 2 soldiers that followed him up got an early release.
Yes.
The rest of their life.
Medical
from the military.
release from the military from their trip.
Kautz himself had lost, about 30, 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Had a bad case of the piles.
Oh.
It's a nice way to say hemorrhoids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the doctor himself took a long time to recover
Right.
from it.
Right.
They ate nothing but a diet of berries on their way back and tore them up. Just tore them up. They didn't have any fish. They didn't have any beef because the Indian couldn't hunt. And so I think that told the tale more than it told the tale of what they went through on the way up. Man, they got tore up. Their lives were changed probably forever from that trip.
So we got to hop in a car and head back home. They had to walk all
Right. So
the
where
way
did you guys
back
get
out.
picked up at? Paradise.
We got picked up at Paradise.
You
Yeah.
went to work.
I don't.
We ran into a supervisor in the parking lot. Remember
I
that?
did go to work. Did I? I can't remember.
No, you went to work the next day.
Okay.
But the very next day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the question I want to ask, because you brought it up earlier, when you were doing the Ptolemy, you guys were talking about what was next. That became this. So what's next? So I don't think you guys are done yet.
No. So here's what's funny. Let me start and I'll let you finish it.
Go ahead.
So while we're on the Kautz trip, I'm already thinking about, I know what we want to do next, which is recreate the first ascent. PB Van Trump and Hazard Stevens.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Connor.
And so I'm thinking in my head, that's what I really want to do, but I know Jerry will never do it because he hates walking roads. Right?
Urban walking, man.
So
where did this? So help me out here. This, if you were to recreate this,
yeah,
where are you walking?
starting in Yelm. They started in Yelm at James Longmire's homestead and follow the Nisqually, very similar to the Kautz actually, but more on the south side.
Okay, and you're not down for walking the Royal Way.
Well, you never talked to me
So I
about
never
it.
said anything. I never said anything.
Okay.
So finally, Jerry comes over to my cabin one day. He goes, Troy, I think I know what we should do for the next trip. We should recreate the first ascent.
We should finish the story. This
Yeah.
is history. These are the three most essential first explorations,
Contacts with the
discovery
mountain.
missions, you name it, whatever you want to call it. But these are the first three that
So you guys, is it safe to say that's what you will do, or are you still kind of?
that's next year. That's
that's
what
next
we
year.
are going to
That's
do.
what we will do next
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
July again.
I need to look at the dates they did it.
And like Scott, I'm glad you asked about what we'd do different, because if we do this again, we needed to put some days on the back end for something to go right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a really good lesson.
Have some extra days.
Don't have
yeah.
to just be back in a hurry if something.
Yeah.
That way I don't feel as bad as if I pulled out in the wind and I had another day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then we could complete it.
Maybe another couple packs of cigarettes too, because they're light.
Yeah, Troy went back and said I left some back at the lower camp. Chastised me for that later. I was like, yeah, I deserve a chastising. I didn't know.
Well, the one thing I was thinking about, his gear, his ice axe. Probably, what does your ice axe weigh?
Oh gosh, mine's in the ounces. It's under a pound.
In yours?
Pound and a half. Maybe.
Yeah. So what do you think this guy was schlepping around?
Yeah,
3
for
or 4
sure.
pounds of.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's one of the fun things about so like they documented better for Kautz, and the documentation for the first ascent is it's just magnificent.
It's even better.
okay.
Yeah.
It's all over. So Van Trump and Stevens, they wrote like 3 different accounts. There's people that wrote about them. We get a little bit more into some technical gear, which they hated. So they were more of the old fashioned, but their third partner was more about, just like example, sun goggles. They didn't want to wear them. And then actually Stevens got to where he used them over the next couple times he climbed. So,
Well, I think wasn't Edmund Coleman along with them?
Coleman, that's it.
And so Coleman, he did the first ascent of Mount Baker by Bellingham. He's a British guy, if I'm not mistaken. He had done climbing in the Alps, so he kind of knew what he was doing a little bit.
Yeah, he brought crampons, which.
Yep. Snow goggles. Yeah.
So these guys were so crazy, and we cannot recreate this. So don't ask us next year when we do it. But to cross the crevasses, they would lasso an ice pinnacle from the other side and swing across the crevasse.
That's
No.
right.
And
That's
climb
right.
up and get across it.
No.
That's
Yeah.
what they did in there, and we're not going to do that, of
On
course.
the first ascent.
We're going to ladder it over.
What if we have to? So their route takes us.
Gibraltar.
It's called the Gibraltar Ledge route, which they did the first descent of that route, obviously, for ascent of the mountain. And for years afterwards, it was the main route. You go to Camp Muir, to the Gibraltar Ledge route. Well, the ledge fell away back in the 1920s or 30s. And then the route changed to what's now called the Disappointment Cleaver, which 90% of the people that climb the mountain do that route.
Okay.
But I've been up the Gibraltar Ledge route before, and it's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay.
No lassoing and swinging necessary when I did it.
So we're going to meet with Kevin Bacher from National Park Service, who's done a lot of research. He's kind of a historian in it, and he's going to help us just fill in some blanks. Like I said, there's a lot of literature on it already. It's an exciting story, and the names, Sluiskin, Van Trump, even following from Kautz and told me these are the names on the mountain. These are the places and the people who made these names. It's historic, to go through the story, just to follow the trail.
No, it's cool to hear you guys tell it. It's also, you haven't inspired me
to do it
to do
yourself.
that, but I think it's very cool that you're trying to go back and with within reason. No lassos, no swinging, no carrying a 4-pound ice axe or whatever his ice axe was. Let's say it was 4 pounds. You're using modern equipment and safety measures, but you are trying to stay as true to the historical recreation as you can.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of cool.
I'm going to hate it when we run out of historians to follow.
Right.
So that actually, thank you for saying that, because that was the other question is, so you do this one next year, and you say those are the big 3 on Rainier.
Right.
What would you do next? If I put you on the spot right now, not that no one's going to hold you to it, but...
Well, I kind of feel like, the first one, I was looking for a partner, and Jer was the only one willing to do it.
Uh-huh.
And I think he caught the bug on this one and got very informed on the history. And then I feel like Jerry's actually almost, he's like leading up this one we're going to do next year. You're way ahead of me on information and contacts. And so I'd like to keep you moving more on that. Jerry's always wanted me to go to the Grand Canyon with him.
Okay.
Or Machu Picchu. Or Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
I have a couple on my bucket list.
Okay, so something outside of the state. You go do Machu Picchu or something like that. Okay. Have you done, either of you guys done Kilimanjaro?
I have not.
No.
I have not, no.
I've heard from a couple people that I know that have summited it that it's actually pretty easy.
That's what I hear. It's more like a walk.
It's more like a walk.
Well, there's three different climbs. There's an easy one, intermediate one, and a hard one. Okay. So you can go a short route, a medium route, or the nice long easy route. But what the thing is, you get a little bit of Africa with it if you want to. You can travel and make more than just Kilimanjaro out of that.
I'm not trying to dismiss it as it's easy. Who cares?
No, right.
It's that it's not
technical,
super technical.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yes, it's the adventure in that I look for. It's the journey.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy. You asked earlier before we were recording. I've talked to a guy who has summited Everest from Seattle, and he actually proposed to his girlfriend from the summit of Everest.
Aw.
And so he was.
What'd she say?
She said yes.
All right.
Do you know Chris Klemecki?
No.
Okay, so Chris is he's the guitar player now in Grieve the Astronaut.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and his wife Erica has gone up a long ways on that. And, and I interviewed her for some stuff, and both of these people were. Everest sounds miserable.
Yeah.
It sounds because it's just a line of people.
Yeah.
Waiting to go up, and you're kind of like taking number 42. You can climb.
Anymore, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where the people that I've talked to that have done Kilimanjaro, yes, there's a lot of people on the mountain, but it's still a very enjoyable experience.
Right.
That'd be a cool one. Machu Picchu would be really
I've done Machu Picchu through the Salcantay Mountains, so I had 7 days round trip and then ended in Machu Picchu.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, I like history, but I really like exploring. Mm-hmm. And so, like you mentioned, Everest, you get in the big long line. Unless you do an oddball route, then you'd have the place all to yourself.
So I don't know if they let you.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but that's beyond my.
But that's what interests me. That's what really interests me is maybe do something in the Grand Canyon you haven't done before.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I find new places every time. So the last time I went down, I went to Boucher's Rapids, and Boucher was a hermit. They call it Hermit's Rapids, and he was way down at the far left end of the canyon, and he had an orchard down there, 50 different kinds of trees and a cabin, and it was interesting to come find the cabin, come find the trees, all the things like that, and just uncovering the history that's in a book.
Right. Well, and that's the thing I think is what you guys are doing is cool. So, well, I've been wrapping up my episodes with 2 questions. So the first one is, what didn't I ask you about this adventure that I should have?
No, I think you covered everything.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Jerry?
I wish I would have seen the country back in the day it was. I wonder how close we were to following it. Like you said, you hit it on it a couple times, so I couldn't say you didn't ask it. But if you ask me how true I felt about this, I felt like the adventure was there, the upper adventure. But honestly, I would like to know how that guy felt, where the snow was, what it looked like 150 years ago.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't get the scope of that, kind of.
All right. So, Jerry, I'm going to ask you this question. Troy gets to prepare. You're on the spot.
Okay.
So I've been asking this question, and I stole this from another podcast. So it's a very important question. Cake or pie, and why?
Pie, every time. Give me that apple pie.
You are the first person to answer quickly.
Give me that
Everyone
pie.
else is mulling it over. Okay.
Every
apple
time.
pie?
It's made with crust, more love, put a little ice cream with it.
Okay.
It far outweighs cake every time.
All right. Troy?
Pie, easy one. Yeah.
Apple? Berry?
Oh no, I like berry. Yeah,
Okay.
blackberry.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Easy. How about you?
God, see, I probably pie and probably apple or a berry pie.
Oh,
I mean,
here we are.
yeah, cake's fine. You don't look like this without eating cake.
Whipped cream, ice cream.
Ice cream. There's no such thing as bad ice cream. So ice cream, of course.
You look like, okay.
Yeah, I
good.
look like I.
All right. No, I just.
No, I
you
do.
don't look like a whipped cream guy. All right.
No. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Scott, love you, bro.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.